Now let's examine another easy business for you to get into because of your engineering background, and that's the mobile app business. And just like the services business, where I have personal experience because I provide a lot of services for my clients, I also have a lot of experience in the mobile app industry. I've created my own successful mobile apps that have millions of downloads, and I teach and coach now mobile app business, mobile app marketing, and I've got a lot of clients in this, and I see their current struggle. So I am kind of neck deep in this business as well. Now let me explain to you the ins and outs and pros and cons of this business. The cool thing about this business, unlike the services industry, the services business is boring. Apps are different. They're cool, they're sexy, they're startup-y, which kind of also means that not only is us being startup-y, which maybe should be in air quotes, but like it sounds cool, but also there are some big exits. There are not many big exits in like a services business. It's like once you get tired of that business, it's really hard. It's much harder to sell it off. Some people would say, of course, this is a gray area. Some people would argue that it's actually harder to sell apps, and partially that would be right. But generally speaking, in the mobile app industry, you see some gigantic exits every once in a while. Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, and if there aren't big exits, then there are just big valuations. Okay, so these guys, when they really find scale, they find tremendous next level scale, and that gives them this tremendous valuation. So there's that whole upside to it. Of course, take that with a grain of salt, because out of the millions of apps out there, there's a handful of exits like that. So what you actually see is the exception, not the rule. And the problem is that you really do have millions of competitors. I mean, there may be not millions of health apps or business apps, but there's certainly like I don't know the exact number, but it's close to that in puzzle games, other kind of games, because some types of apps are just so easy to start. So every beginner, when they start learning programming, they make a certain kind of app, they launch it in the App Store, they try to grow it. And so you're in this space that is just too competitive. And that competition makes it really hard to promote. Remember the 3-sentence business plan, promotion and marketing is always a big part of it. And so the main marketing strategy for most apps, it's something called ASO, App Store Search Optimization. It's similar to or analogous to SEO, search engine optimization for Google. But this is for the app stores. The app stores being essentially the Google Play Store and Apple App Store. On both of those, the search is for most apps the biggest driver of downloads, but the problem is that there's a glut of apps. Most users only download, the first few apps that really come up for any given search. And so there's this 80-20 rule of like 20% of the apps are getting 80% of the downloads, just the ones that are like the million and billion dollar apps that have been able to remain on top of the search engines. And it's not even an 80-20 rule, it's like a hyper 80-20 rule. It's almost like a 98-2, where like 2% of the apps are getting essentially all the downloads and 98% of the apps are really struggling. And that glut really makes this a tough business because many apps struggle to get downloads. And you can't get users, can't get downloads, this business is dead. So another problem, if when we just talked about the marketing problem of the app stores, another problem, and that's the second sentence of the 3-sentence business plan. Remember, it's product, marketing, finance. So marketing, we just talked about. The third sentence, the finance, is another problematic area of the mobile app space because guess what? For some reason, mobile app users hate spending money. Like 99 cents is literally nothing. It will make no difference in your life, but you probably give it a disproportionate amount of thought when presented with a 99-cent purchase in the app stores. Elsewhere, 99 cents is a steal. In the app stores, 99 cents is, you have to think about it, oh my God. And you don't even keep the whole 99 cents. You really just keep 70 cents. And it's just a way to become poor, right? Collecting 70 cents at a time is just a way to become poor unless you reach tremendous volume and tremendous scale. So there's very little middle ground. You're either poor or very rich. So there's very few ways to make this kind of like a middle class business for yourself. It's either win big or just lose. That's really essentially the reality of the app stores. And when you're thinking of like, should I make an app? What you really need is very, very, very compelling differentiation for your app, and perhaps even compelling niching down. So instead of, maybe you're thinking of making a fitness app, well, there's already 1,000 or thousands of those. Or tens of thousands of those. So what happens is, think of like, is there something that's not covered within the fitness industry? Maybe you've got like the best kettlebell app, idea. And so maybe there's not an app for kettlebell exercises. Of course, there's going to be a much smaller market, but at least it's some sort of a win in a place where most apps die from anonymity. Nobody can find them because there's a glut in terms of discovery, and marketing them is really hard. And ads are hardly a solution because it's very hard to make more money per download than it costs to advertise to get that download. So that's the challenge of the mobile app stores and the mobile app business. It's fun and natural for you to maybe get into, but there are some very real challenges about this space. It's a now mature space, and I feel like I'm getting repetitive, but it is competitive, and that's a huge problem in here.